When we were planning our Yellowstone trip, it was pretty daunting.
It's the largest national park at over 2.2 million acres. Plus, there's just so much there to see and experience within those boundaries.
To put it in perspective, the park is larger than Rhode Island and Delaware combined.
Once we got to the park, we realized it was much easier to navigate than we originally thought.
We'll get into that in a little bit, though.
Due to the sheer size of Yellowstone, we decided to camp at different ends of the park so we wouldn't have to travel as far on a daily basis to see the sights at each end of the park. We started our adventure in Madison Campground at the west end of the park. The west entrance is only open from mid-April through November, so definitely check for updates on the National Park website if you plan on visiting during the shoulder season to make sure the roads will be open for you to enter.
One of the things that I liked about Grand Teton staying in Coulter Bay RV Park is that you actually were able to pick your site. So when you made your reservation, you could say where you wanted to stay. Well, over here in Yellowstone, you don't get to pick your site. You just say what size sites you want. So like here in Madison, we picked a 40-foot site. That actually might be the biggest site. Plus there's room for an extra vehicle. But you just have to take whatever site they give you. Same with Fishing Bridge, which is where we'll be in a couple days. And same with North Yellowstone. We're staying at Yellowstone RV Park. So, is what it is. Hopefully we get a good site. Filling the water here is very, very, very slow. So be prepared for that. I don't know if that's a seasonal thing because it's still kind of chilly out right now. But we've been here for a while and it's slow. So my recommendation is to have someone, the driver of the RV, come into the line to start filling water while the other person gets you checked in, because it doesn't matter how long the line is to get checked in, the person filling will not be done yet.
I don't think we've actually taken this long before to fill up. I calculated it takes about a minute to fill up per gallon of water, which is crazy. I would say usually we're going to see more like maybe 5 gallons a minute. That sounds a little bit more closer.
One thing he did mention is that we have a 98-gallon tank. So that might mean 98 minutes.
If we literally sat here for the entire time, that's an hour and 40 minutes. An hour and 40 minutes. Good thing we're not staying longer than 3 days. The military showers are going to be more like 10 seconds. Just be like this, scrub, and then call it a day.
Good enough.
Good enough.
That's our motto for season 4, by the way. Good enough.
We're getting to good enough right now.
18 psi, in case you guys were wondering. And if you wanted to know how Ryan knew how many gallons he was getting per minute, it was because he has a little device on the hose that keeps track of how many gallons are going in, and so he just timed it at that point. So I think we're calling it quits after 50 gallons. We're not filling the whole tank. We can't do this. We've already been here long enough. So he's back there turning on, I think, the furnace to try and warm it up. Last time I was in the RV, when we had a pit stop, it was 49 degrees in there. Let me tell you, we are not used to 49 degrees for anything, let alone our home. So hopefully it'll be nice and warm by the time we get to our campsite. As we mentioned earlier, it was much easier to see the sites that we wanted than when we were trying to plan it all in advance. The west end of the park, which might be the most popular since it has Old Faithful, Morning Glory, Grand Prismatic, and more, has 3 major basins. From Madison Campground, you'll first hit the lower geyser basin. You park in the parking lot, then walk to the boardwalk to see all the sights, such as Fountain Paint Pot. Then you get back in your car, drive to the next basin, which would be Midway Basin, and walk the boardwalk to see Grand Prismatic Springs and all the other sites in that section. We actually didn't do the Lower Geyser Basin first, only because we needed Wi-Fi, so we headed straight over to Old Faithful.
We've made it to West Yellowstone. Specifically, we made it to Old Faithful. We're a little cold.
A little?
We got Old Faithful right behind us, and it's supposed to erupt in the next 20-30 minutes. It's a nice little breeze.
We might be popsicles before it erupts.
You can see, so we're on the shoulder season. It is in May and the beginning of May, and a lot less people are going to be here than in comparison that if you're anywhere else. So, if you're in June, July, August, September, it's going to be packed. But here, we're walking around and there's 20, 30 people around versus hundreds of people that I'm sure are here when, when you're on
Peak
during
season.
Yeah, during season.
Yeah, I mean the campground is full, which I was surprised. I thought that it would be a little emptier. But so if you have the National Park Service app, they do tell you the approximate times that some of these geysers are going to erupt. So Old Faithful, it just asks for there's a 10-minute, plus or minus. Some of them are a little bit longer than that, but the app is definitely helpful. Bison backups are no joke. And sometimes it's not the bison actually blocking the road, it's that people want to stop and watch and take pictures and get video. But we were, warned ahead of time that it can take hours to get anywhere just because people stop on the road and the road is not wide enough for someone to pull off and then people to go around.
It's just shocking how, and again, shoulder season, not bad, but I still can't imagine that sitting in for an hour or two. And then season, hours upon hours upon hours. Those bison ain't moving.
But even, because we're coming from the opposite way, obviously. And even when the bison got off the road, that first car didn't want to move. So everyone else was stuck waiting behind that first car. I can't imagine.
All it takes is one person to be, kind of gawking, enjoying. Again, you're only in Yellowstone potentially once, depending on who you are, where you're from. But yeah, just they don't realize how many people are behind you.
Yeah, there were people getting out of their cars because they were sitting there so long. I told Ryan that cold and windy was the worst. And then I said, well, you know what? If it was cold, windy, and raining, that would actually be the worst.
Guess what it's doing? It was sleeting, and then it was raining, and now it's just raining.
Oh, it's been an interesting Yellowstone trip. So it's best to give yourself multiple days to do things because, you get weather like this and you miss most of the stuff. And at Yellowstone, you have to walk most places. Like you pull up to a parking lot and then you have to walk out to check out the basin or the falls or whatever it is you're looking at, which normally isn't a big deal. But if the weather's bad, small children, you know, handicap, things like that. It's just, you know, it's just not as convenient, not as doable sometimes. There are 11 visitor centers at Yellowstone, and only 5 of them are open right now. So the rest of them will slowly start opening, but we're already in the second week of May. So keep that in mind if you do any shoulder season traveling.
And have every clothing possible, whether it's warmer, colder, wet gear, snow, sleet, freezing rain, because you'll see it if you come at this time.
You'll see it all. Yeah, we were a little bummed because some of the trails we wanted to do, they're apparently still snow covered, and the guy told us he was going to do one. I swear he said 18 inches of snow. He said a lot of it was hard packed, but you still fell through about 6 inches. So we're like, yeah, we're not doing that.
We're not set up that much. Unfortunately, you got to be careful, especially when you're traipsing through Yellowstone this time of year. We did see one car, unfortunately, it looked like it missed a bison and went off the edge of a cliff.
Trees saved it from going all the way down the cliff.
Yeah, but yeah, just gotta take it easy. There's no rush, you know, especially with people starting and stopping everywhere, crazy traffic. You just very unpredictable as far as traffic and, you know, things in the road.
While staying at Madison Campground, we also visited Norris Geyser Basin and the visitor center over there. We checked out as many waterfalls as we could. We didn't realize Yellowstone has nearly 300 waterfalls. Why aren't more people talking about that?
Did you know that there are over 300 geysers in this place? 300. We've seen maybe like 100 or less.
Or I was going to say, or less.
You know what's interesting is the fishermen that used to catch, I'm assuming trout and other things from the river, would actually take their fish and dip it in some of these little pools, and that's how they would actually cook their food. Can't imagine that's actually got to taste good, but now it's illegal to do that, so don't go cooking your fish.
All the fun stuff is illegal now. We're doing just a short trail. Thankfully there's no snow on this trail, but there's no one here. It's both good and bad because they say, you know, just in case you encounter a bear, you should have 3 or more people. But if you like the place to yourself, which we usually do, this is the time to come.
And bear spray. You're going to be traipsing off the trail necessarily. I mean, if you're going to be, you know, right next to the geysers and everywhere, you may not need this. But if you're going to be hiking anywhere, getting on the trails at all, even in Madison Campground, you should have this on you. Never know.
Very true.
So this is what we were expecting more so when it's the shoulder season, where there really wasn't many people around. And
or like no one.
And if you see, there literally is no one around. We have a spring all to ourselves. It's actually kind of cool. It's a punch bowl spring, and you're so close to it, and you're the only one here.
Yeah, the stuff where you just go right from the parking lot, just walk to the boardwalk, those are all packed. The parking lots are packed.
Yep.
Even in the shoulder season. But yet walking just across the streets through a little bit of the woods, no one's here.
Everybody wants that quick, and I don't blame them at all. Everybody wants that quick little stop, get in, see what you want to, and then get back in your vehicle and go to the next stop. The third basin you'll drive to is the Upper Geyser Basin. Here you can see the very popular Old Faithful, check out the visitor center, and see the beautiful colors of Morning Glory Pool. There is a lot to see in this particular basin, so make sure you give yourself plenty of time. This area is divided into different sections, such as Geyser Hill, Black Sand Basin, Biscuit Basin, and several others. 1 square mile contains at least 150 geysers.
It's a good idea to check with a park ranger before you head out for certain things, because there are a lot of roads that are closed. Fury Falls is closed, Whiskey Flats is closed. Was that one that we just passed? Firehole Road is closed. Sometimes it's because of the road itself. Sometimes it's whatever wildlife is around there. It's like either their nesting season. Point being, check with the park ranger, because things that you think should probably be open might not be. We're ready to leave Madison Campground, where there are no hookups. It's been a little chilly, so we had to run the furnace for the first time.
Luckily, all that work stripped down to t-shirt. So we are going to full hookups at Fishing Bridge. So I think it's a good option to kind of be at Madison initially, get everything done. You're going to be exhausted. And then you get to Fishing Bridge. There's still a lot to do, but maybe not as much.